Hello. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you are new here, my name is Madison and I work with the Akashic Records. I also work with energy healing and I share a lot about spiritual and metaphysical ideas and concepts on my channel. So let's get into it. Today we're talking about reincarnation and if reincarnation is real. And I've gotten a lot of questions about this in my time of working with mediumship, but I've also just gotten a lot of people that are genuinely curious. What is the soul evolution process, right? So I'm going to share with you guys what I've seen from mediumship perspective, what I've channeled with lives between lives. We're going to talk about past lives, and I'm really just going to go through everything I've seen from kind of like the process of like the soul kind of becoming its own fractal to just kind of the journey. So this is going to be fun. So I personally was raised Southern Baptist. So I very much was raised with the belief system that you are born, you go to heaven or hell when you die, and that's where you are for eternity. And for me, it just didn't really feel aligned. I definitely felt like there was just more to the story than that. And it just felt like if there's eternity, why are we only here for like 60 to 80 years? I don't know. It just didn't quite make sense. So whenever I really started to delve into the Akashic Records, I was like, okay, what does it actually look like for like why we're here, the journey of the soul, all the things. So here's essentially what I've kind of seen. So at the beginning of just kind of everything, there was just this source energy of light and love. And we're all essentially soul fractals of this source energy of light and love. And we all as souls just kind of fractal off to create our own experiences. Because in this source energy, there's just one state. And we as souls most of the time want to have multi-feeling experiences or want to experience different things. So every soul is able to fractal off and make its own decisions as to where it wants to go, what it wants to be, what it wants to experience. And there's just like this complete free will that's there, right? So whenever we're talking about like what happens after the soul fractals off, some souls are choosing to incarnate on Earth. Some souls are choosing to incarnate onto other planets. So let's talk about the souls that are incarnating on Earth because I think that's where I've seen the most, right? So essentially it's sort of like, I don't want to say like you're in queue to come to Earth, but it kind of is, right? So if you have a soul contract agreements with your parents and your parents are already here and you know you're coming in with them, it's just about timing. It's almost like you're kind of in queue as a soul to come into Earth. Whenever you are incarnated into Earth, you do not have any memories of any of your past lives. So you very well could be in queue to incarnate to Earth, but you've already been here 174 times before on maybe one mission that you can't just quite get completed, right? So most of the time what I've seen is that when people come to Earth, they come for one specific reason or mission. But since you don't come with any knowledge of, oh, I actually came here because Earth is really corrupt and I wanted to shed light on things actually going on behind the scenes and teach people that they are actually able to self-heal and channel and all these different things, right? So like in my soul purpose example, like that's why I came here was definitely to expand consciousness. I would say is like the biggest thing at a soul purpose level. Like I love exploring like how does consciousness work? How can we use it to our advantage? How does our consciousness create our reality? It's fascinating to me. So I've had many lifetimes on planet Earth of coming with the same mission. But then sometimes I come into this life, I have no idea that's my mission because we don't remember when we, come. We sometimes have experiences that remind us why we came in life. But I personally am somebody who I'm a big experience girl, right? So I've seen many lifetimes where I've come with that purpose and I've not even got close to walking into that purpose because I got distracted by things like drugs and alcohol. And if you're new here, I'm somebody who struggled with addiction very much in this lifetime, active in the AA community. And so it's definitely something where like I've seen lifetimes where I did not even get in the general direction of that because I got caught up in experience things like addiction, right? So Then I've seen other lifetimes where I've made a lot of progress, but then it's almost like I felt like I could do more maybe at a different time period, right? So there's all sorts of reasons that people continue to choose to reincarnate. But there's also a process in between the incarnations that we refer to as lives between lives. So you have, your soul fractal off, you come to wherever you want to go. You say, here's my soul, my mission. You come and you do your 3D experience. Then you pass away. And then you have this period of lives between lives where the soul's sort of like, okay, what do we want to do next? So in this period, the soul could be like, okay, so in this lifetime, we wanted to positively impact other people, but we did so by marrying into this sort of family system, and that really was a deterrent for us. So in this lifetime, we're going to do this piece differently. Or it could even be things like, okay, in that lifetime, I got too distracted by love and chasing relationships and family that I never even spent any time or energy on my soul purpose. So there's all these different reasons that we just continue to come and try to do the same thing, maybe through different ways or different avenues to see what works, right? Because as souls, we're not used to being here and having this 3D experience. We're more used to being like etheric beings, right? And then being here and being in the physical and having to feel and experience all these things is truly beautiful, but it can also be, there's a lot of different ways you can spend your time and energy here on earth. So essentially what I've seen is like the soul is eternal. There's no real beginning, there's no real end. And I definitely have never seen anything that leads me to believe that heaven or hell are real. What I do believe on that is I believe that after you pass away, before you go into that lives between lives period, you do a life review. And in that life review, you're able to see what your mission was, what you accomplished, how you impacted people positively or negatively, and maybe get some insight as to other people's perception of things you said or did, right? Maybe you didn't realize at the time. That experience can create a feeling of heaven or hell based on how you lived here. So if you were not a good person, that life review is not going to be a fun thing. It's going to be a very bad experience of you being like, oh my gosh. And that experience is going to create this feeling of hell, right? Flip side, you come and maybe you don't complete everything on your life mission because most of us don't, but maybe you come and you're like, wow, in my case, I'm like, yeah, I was kind of a shithead at the beginning, but then like, around 30, we started to turn it around. And then, I was able to, do a lot of these things, clear karma, right my wrongs. Like I said, I'm in AA, so I've had to make amends with quite a few people. So a lot of that stuff, like that we do in this life to clear, makes that life review process where it is more heaven than hell, right? Where you're like, okay, I didn't maybe 100% do everything I wanted to, or maybe envisioned for myself, but I'm proud of what I did while I was here, right? So it's almost like after you pass away, you kind of move to the other side, and then you have that life review process. Then you have your lives between lives. In the lives between lives, you're just existing like as a soul. So that's when you might come back to Earth and you might take care of your loved ones and act as a spirit guide. It also might be where you're kind of doing like soul development. Like, okay, I really want to analyze, why at a soul level I allowed ego to run my earthly life and what I need to do differently before I choose to reincarnate again, right? So basically, the whole journey is just up to your soul's evolution across all these different lifetimes and what lessons you want to learn and what experiences you want to have. And really, there's no right or wrong, right? You come, you do it. Well, there obviously is right or wrong, but what I mean by that is like there's no like you come here and you only get one chance to do it right, and if you don't, then it's over, right? If you come and you're not able to accomplish everything, you can choose to come back and try again. And from what I've seen is most people that are here that are light workers have been here for many lifetimes and have reincarnated with a similar life purpose throughout multiple lifetimes, either during different time periods, or it could be through different family systems. And let me talk about that briefly. So a lot of times light workers are incarnated into family systems where there's a lot of dysfunction, addiction, whatever it is, right? And there has to be somebody who comes into that family line that's like, hey, I think we could do things like a little bit differently. And then they choose to kind of forge their own path forward. And so there are a lot of light workers that do that to be able to change the trajectory of family lineage from maybe dysfunction to moving into more of a light worker phase, right? So there's a lot of people here that are also in that. So I just wanted to share that because maybe there's somebody that's tuning in that you're like, I don't know why I have this family. I'm awakened. They have no idea what's going on. That is probably intentional, and it's probably because you're the change of the lineage from all that negativity to maybe more of an awakened state for the lineage moving forward, right? And that's a hard place to be. So not at all to minimize, but it's definitely something that a lot of light workers choose to do because I'm sure at a soul level it sounds like a really good idea before you incarnate. You're like, I'll go into this family and I'll, whatever. And it probably sounds like a great idea at the time, and then we get here and we're like, oh no. The other thing that I want to talk about to you guys about is what's contracted in our lives versus what just happens, right? So I believe that we all have certain people or experiences that we plan for ourselves in this lifetime. So for example, this could be parents, this could be romantic partners, this could be friendships, this could be business partners. We intentionally meet different people for different reasons. Maybe it's because they're our support for a season. Maybe it's because they're our support for a lifetime. Maybe it's because they teach us a lesson in discernment. Maybe they teach us a lesson in self-love. There's so many reasons, right? So we have all of these sort of things our soul wants to learn. So for example, if your soul wants to learn how to set boundaries in this lifetime, you are going to be put in situations where you have people around you who don't have any boundaries or any understanding of how boundaries work, and you're going to have to be really firm about what that looks like for you and know that that's in alignment for your highest good, right? So it's almost like whatever lesson you came here to learn, those things present themselves, and there are people and situations that we sort of create for ourselves coming into this lifetime, right? However, we still have free will into this lifetime, right? So I've seen a lifetime where I intended to come and have like a really big energy healing focus, like really focusing on more of like a quantum healing, I would say, than like a traditional chakra energy healing. And that lifetime, I got caught up in alcohol and drugs really young, and that's all I did that entire lifetime. And so it's like, after that, I was like, okay, well, that didn't work. So, let's try again. And so, like, for me, this lifetime, I had a couple experiences when I was really in addiction where it was almost like that wake up call of like, this is not what you're here to do. And so I do believe we also sometimes have pre-contracted moments where, like, for me, I've seen like, I had probably 4 or 5 wake up call moments where I was like, holy shit, I'm an alcoholic and I'm addicted to, a couple different things. And I don't know how I got here, but like, this isn't the life I want to live, right? Some of those experiences that I had were sort of contracted where I, was like, okay, spirit guide team, y'all are helping me in this lifetime. In past lifetimes, I've loved to dabble in drugs and alcohol. That's something that we know at a soul level, right? So this lifetime, if I do go down that track, can you guys give me signs that I'm going down the wrong track? And can you give me resources to get back on the right one? So, thus, in this lifetime, I struggled with addiction from about 18 to about 30. I got sober right before I turned 30. And I immediately, well, I happened to, at the time I got sober, I had a therapist who helped me to make sure that I had the right, psychiatrist support for like the withdrawals and things like that, but also helped me to get into AA and just, different things like that that really made a difference. And so I can look back and I can see like, oh, wow, like my higher self or my, at a soul level, I knew some of the challenges that I was going to have, and I sort of set some things in place for future me to be able to get back on track should I need to, right? And so it's just crazy to think about that, like, every time we come, it's just our soul being like, okay, what do we need to do or learn or experience, right? And so for me, definitely, and I think for a lot of you watching, this lifetime is about awakening. It's about dismantling all of the old. It's about creating new systems. It's about moving from this old earth patriarchy to this new earth system of enlightenment and manifestation, and just the understanding that everything's energy, right? And so we're a lot of us are here right now in this big great awakening period to help people shift, and also to shift ourselves, because a lot of us that are here, myself, for example, I've never gotten to a fully awakened or enlightened state as a 3D human before. I've never been able to achieve that state of full understanding or enlightenment, right? So I don't want to say it's something I'm chasing in this lifetime, but it's definitely something where I know right now I have a basic understanding of like universal laws and like how everything kind of works in the quantum field, but there's so much I don't know to connect all the dots, right? And so that's what I'm seeking in this lifetime, is being able to get that knowledge for myself and then being able to give that knowledge to everybody else, so that everybody else can be able to do things like manifest and clear their karma and like all this stuff that I've been learning, right? So that is a lot about how our incarnations are largely tied to soul purpose. And there's no like limit, right? It's not like if you don't get it right in this lifetime, you're SOL. Some people I've seen and done readings on that they're like, hey, I feel like I can't get ahead. And in their Akashic record, it's like, you're this lifetime, all you're doing is clearing karma. All you're doing in this lifetime is clearing your past 154 lifetimes of karma, right? And so, while in a lifetime as a human, it doesn't feel that exciting, at a soul level, sometimes it needs to happen, right? And when you start to think about the incarnation as the evolution of the soul, it also helps with people around you, right? Because if you see people around you struggling, you know that like this is just one incarnation that you're seeing, not their entire story, right? um so I hope this makes sense. I hope you guys resonated. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments, email, DM, whatever feels good for you guys. If you want to learn more or work with me, I have a few different options. So, if you want to learn how to connect with your own Akashic record, connect with your spirit guides, do your own past life regression, I do have a 5D membership on my website, and it is only $22 a month, and you can try it for a week for free. So, if you are wanting to see about how to connect to your Akashic records, what it's about, if it aligns for you, hop on over to the website, try that for a week for free. If you want to work with me one-on-one, I have a few options for that as well. I do virtual and in-person Akashic Records readings. I also teach Akashic Records and mediumship virtually, and then I do have a few in-person circles that I do every month here in Greensboro at the Pear Tree Wellness Collective. All of that is on my website that is linked in my bio and in the show notes. Thank you guys for tuning in for this episode. Oh, one last thing. If you guys have any things you want to hear about for future episodes, drop them in the comments or DM me, because normally what I'll do is either things that I've been wanting to learn about or things people have been asking me about is where I'll get sort of the base for these episodes, and then I'll just go in and kind of channel from the Akashic Records what do I need to talk about on this topic. So if there's anything you guys want to know about, let me know, and I hope you guys have a beautiful week. Happy